Heather and I would like to welcome you to our wedding. Thank you all for joining us on our special day. We would also like to thank those who traveled and came to be here with us today. Some of you don't know our story, so we wanted to share a little bit of it with you. My sister Lori and her husband Adam were at a concert this past summer, and with her brother Caleb and his wife. Lori started to talk about me, and Aaron started to talk about Heather, and my sister was like, well, maybe they need to meet. So I got a text from my sister one day, and it said, are you ready for a hookup? Her name is Heather, and she lives in Wisconsin. And I thought, wow, that's right in my backyard. But I began to think about, wow, God, are you trying to say something? My sister has never tried to hook me up with anyone before.
And I had gotten a voicemail from Erin about Tim and how she thought that he and I were alike and that we should meet. And initially I thought, oh, brother, this guy's in Texas. I didn't want to waste my time if this was something that God wasn't directing. But I told Erin I would pray about it and I would give her an answer in a few days. And a few days later, I was driving home from work and just prayed about it. And I said, Lord, do you want me to talk to this guy or not? And just had a real sense of God's peace and just really sense from the Lord that we should go ahead and talk.
And then one day, as I was just spending some time with the Lord and just had some worship music going, I then began to sense the presence of God come over me, and I heard him clearly say, this is it. And what was interesting was both that same day, we both had peace about being able to talk to each other.
And the next part of our story that we wanted to share was on October the 23rd. And Tim had texted me a couple days before that and said that he was going to be calling me. And so a few minutes before he was going to be calling me, I was praying about it. And I said, Lord, if this is ever going to go anywhere, then he and I really need to meet in person. So Tim and I had a good conversation on the phone that day. And at the end of that time, he asked me if I wanted to meet him in Indianapolis when he was coming in December the 23rd to see his family for Christmas time. And at that point, he and I had talked on the phone about a month and a half, and after he had asked me that, I had a strong feeling that God could be bringing us together.
So Heather and I continued to talk on the phone about every couple weeks leading up to December 23rd. We then met December 23rd, and we just had a very great day. We could immediately sense the peace of God with us that entire day. We had some fun things that we did. We went to Bub's Burgers for lunch. We went to the Idle George Museum in Indianapolis, and we saw a model train display. We also went later on that night, went to my sister's Christmas Eve service, and we did some bowling at the end of the night. So altogether, it was a great day. And again, we just felt the peace of God just resting on us the entire day. We then talked about possibly meeting together on New Year's Eve after I had spent some time with my family in Michigan, and we decided to do that. My sister had purchased some Indiana-Ohio State tickets, and we then went to the basketball game with my sister and her husband Adam, and Heather and I and my brother Scott. The next day we had lunch with our family and on New Year's Day, but before we flew out, Heather and I decided to go to like a little cafe called Paradise Cafe, and we just wanted to talk before I left back for Dallas. And when we began to talk about our future, the presence of God and the peace of God just filled the room, and we had a very strong sense that God was bringing us together. So, further along in February, Heather decided to fly in just for a few days for the Valentine's Day weekend. That Sunday, she was able to go to church with us, and she was able to meet some of my friends, and we also were able to do some fun things. While she was here Monday, we were able to go to a Dallas Mavericks game, and that was a lot of fun. And also, and then on February the 14th, Valentine's Day, I took her to the Dallas Aquarium, and we were able to see some of those things. It was very unique. That also leads us to then the next part of our story, Heather moving to Denton, Texas.
What happened with that was, it was literally just a couple weeks after I came down to visit Tim for Valentine's Day, and I was talking on the phone to a business contact of mine in Portland, Oregon, about going down to visit Tim and over Valentine's Day. And she was just asking me how, about the details of our trip or my time to see Tim. And I told her, yeah, it's looking like I'm probably going to be the one that's going to move. And she said to me, well, I just recently had a recruiter contact me about a position in San Antonio, and maybe he would know of something for you in the Dallas area. And I said, yeah, that would be great. So literally the next day, I got an email from this recruiter, and 2 days later, he called me and told me that he had a position, but it was actually in Denton and not in Dallas, and asked me if I would be interested in that. And I told him that would be great because my boyfriend actually lives in Denton, not in Dallas. So a couple days after that, I had a phone interview, and at the end of the phone interview, the company offered to fly me down for a face-to-face interview the following Friday. I flew down and spent the day with US Signs, the company that I work for now. And at the end of the time, they told me that they'd be making me an offer in the next 2 weeks. So after that time, I did get an offer, and the company paid to move me down here. They also paid for the truck, the gas, the hotel, and they also paid for Tim to fly up to help me move. So we knew with all of that God was directing all this and bringing us together without a doubt.
Definitely. So the next part of our story leads us to the reason why you are all here today. I proposed to Heather on June 30th, and of course she said yes. Some of the things we did that day when I proposed to her was I took her out for breakfast and to a restaurant called La Peeps, and after that I decided to take her to the church. They have an Israel prayer garden, and I told her my buddy Victor needs a ride, and he's at a prayer meeting, and we need to go pick him up. So her not knowing she had any idea that I was doing this, we get there, and I then took her out to the garden, and I had like a proposal frame with the proposal on it. I had some flowers, just some nice things, and set up, and I proposed to her. I had one of our friends from church playing some music in the background, and his wife was in the background as well, taking pictures. And then, after I proposed to her, we decided that the rest of the day would just be like a celebration. I took her to the Botanical Gardens in Dallas, and we did that for a few hours, and then I took her into downtown Dallas, and we visited some shops. And then later that evening, I took her to the Reunion Tower, and we had dinner there. It's a rotating restaurant, which allows you to see the Dallas skyline. So that was very nice. And then we ended. It was just a very, very great day that we probably will never forget. So that is our story, and there are many, many things that the Lord did with us and directed us that we just don't have time to share. We are so thankful for everything that God has done in our lives, and we want to thank you all for coming. God bless.